The purpose of this video is to show you a second sample of how to create reports using AI to go through this process. So it will be more in depth of how you can get deliverables such as this report using ChatGPT. And we'll start out with the problem. So for this sample is a trio counselor that wants to show stakeholders like principals or teachers or anyone else that's interested information about the work that they're doing at a particular school. For the example, we'll use Central High School, but at the end of the year, you want to show everything you did, such as how many students you helped, the trips that you took, the statistics about the seniors, the demographics in general. So we'll start out with showing you what I came up with using this ChatGPT. It could also be Gemini or other forms of AI generating systems. But for this, I use ChatGPT. And remember to use the same framework that we touched during the training, which is the task, context, reference, evaluation, and iterate. And let's see what we came up with, and then I'll walk you through the process of how I ended up with this, and you can kind of see step by step of that process. So this is the cover page, and then I'll tell you a little bit of like the specifics I put on here, but you can see it has information about the program, about TRIO, the eligibility, of who I served at that particular school, percentages, also the services that we offer, the grade levels, the workshops that we did for that year, the field trips and how much it cost, or you can really show the investment that we did for the school. And then senior outcomes, including how many graduated, how many FAFSAs we completed, what schools they went to, and so on. So as you can see, it's colorful. It has icons, so it's appealing to the eye. It's very organized. So how do you get to this point using AI and not spending all day designing this? So we talked about the problem, and this is the initial prompt that I use to get this result. So for the task, the T, I said act like a trio counselor who wants to create a report for school staff to show the services provided and the students that they work with throughout the year. And I mentioned that I wanted to be an infographic, and I asked it to start with the first page and that there will be a total of 6 pages. When I first start the task, you should already know exactly what you want on each page and have that vision so that the process is easier. Because if you start out with not really knowing what you want on each page and what you want it to look like, so like that vision and that planning, brainstorming part, then it'll be harder to create this product, and it'll take you longer, and you might not be happy with the results. So keep that in mind. And the reason why I said start with the first page is because I want to see what the output is first, what it's giving me, and see if I need to change like colors or graphics or information. And then once I'm happy with the first page, then I can ask the ChatGPT to keep, or whatever one you're using, I can ask it to continue to use that theme for the following pages. As far as persona or audience, I said that to act like a trio counselor, so they know it's us providing that information, and then the audience, it's school staff, so that will know what tone to keep and at what level of reading it should be. As far as the context, that's again providing extra details, and for this part on the context, I provided more details on what I want on each particular page and what I want it to look like. So I told them that on page 1, I want just background information and the program description. On page 2, student eligibility, including the first generation, information from the spreadsheet. And I'll talk about the spreadsheet in a second. And then the primary 3rd page, 4th page, and so on. I told exactly what I wanted. And then I told it to do it on an 8.5 by 11, which is a standard letter size. And I made sure to include that it's an infographic so they'll know to use certain icons and that I want it to be visually appealing. So for references, this is when you put all your, so you have the bones per se, then this is where you want to add all the meat. So of course you want to give it the information, right? When you provide that information for the report, make sure that there's no specific information about the student, such as name or any identifying information or any data that must be kept private. So be careful with that. But here's the spreadsheet that I uploaded, which includes the status, the low income, first generation, so on. As you can see, it's just numbers. Numbers is nothing identifying anybody. The grades, the workshops. So basically everything I told it to put on each particular page, it's here on this. Now you, as far as if you're putting this report together, you probably keep some type of spreadsheet with all the information of what workshops and when you visited and so on. And if you don't, then this is a good opportunity to start doing that. As far as like the demographics of the students and so on, then you probably can find this on the APR on your Blueman account. That information is also very general. It's not identifying anybody, so it's okay to download and use since it would just be numbers. But for example, the demographics, how many students for that school, the grades, and so on, you can have it on there. But you can use a spreadsheet. You can also ask ChatGPT to create a spreadsheet for record or track keeping, and so that you can continue to utilize it like that. Or like I said, you can download it from the APR and use whatever information. You can always attach it and tell it to use that, or you can copy and paste the information as well as preferences. On background, I just provided some background information on Trio and then the program description about talent search so it can put it on the first page. So with that, let's go into the chat box and see how we started that conversation to go back and forth with it to create what I wanted. So again, we already went over the initial prompt, and here's just the whole thing instead of breaking it down, act like a trio counselor and so on, the 6 pages, and then the reference part, I put it on here as well. So I put it on there and then I did the attachment of the spreadsheet and you can see it here. Then it needed some clarification. Of course, the more details you provide, the better. Here, it wanted a little bit more information before it gave me something. And it's just like a conversation back and forth. It wasn't clear about some of the tabs on the spreadsheet that I uploaded. So it wanted to know which ones were what. And then it said, please tell me the sheet names for each section. And then it gave me the layout of what it would include on the first page. And this is your opportunity to change out anything that you're not liking. You can copy and paste this and then just change the different stuff into the chat box and then resubmit it. I didn't do that for this case, but I did verify, like the first tab is the status, the third tab is the work schedule, and so on. So I gave it the names, and then it gave me the information that it was going to go on there, and I just told it to go ahead and create it. I said create graphic for page 1, and this is what it gave me. So that's how I got my second page. Once I was happy with the colors, kind of the fonts and things like that, I told it to go ahead and generate page 2. And it gave me page 2. And here's the opportunity to do the evaluation part of the framework. If you don't like something like, oh, this is spelled wrong, you can say, hey, check grammar, or make sure that you label, like right here, the 11%, it didn't say other. I can say label the 11% as other. So that's the opportunity to go back and forth and evaluate what it gives you and then reiterate the information so that it can give you better results. So then I went on to page 3. It's better if you go page by page to ensure that you're making changes as you go and that you end up with something that you're comfortable with. So it gave me the primary services, and they put on page 3 everything I asked for it from prompt 1, from the first prompt. And then I like that it gives you here kind of like a breakdown of, hey, I included this, and would you like me to do X, Y, and Z, which could be editing the colors or adding a logo or things like that. I left it like that for now. And then I said, create page 4. I wasn't happy with this one because, as you can see, it just put random text and really didn't provide any data. So I make sure I copied and paste the data that I wanted on there. For some reason, it didn't read it correctly on the spreadsheet. So I copied and pasted. That's not a problem. And it was able to give me something better. And still, I wasn't happy with it. So I said, create a cleaner version, color coded by grade for page 4. So in my mind, I had a better idea of what I wanted it to look like. This one looks a lot better, but I thought it was still quite busy. So I gave it an example that I've got previously, and I said, do it more like this. So providing that reference point. And it gave me a corrected list where, like I said, you can copy and paste and make any changes and submit it again. But I said, yes, this is great. You can abbreviate because it asked me if I wanted to abbreviate, and then it gave me a better option. And it gave me 2 options, as you can see here. And then I just went with this one right here, but it breaks it down by each month, by grade, and what they did. So I thought that was pretty good, and so I just left it like that. One thing I did tell it on this version, it was to remove the Little Rock Central High and the trio title at the top. I didn't think it was necessary, so that's why it gave me the second version, which I liked a lot better. Then for page 5, I said create page 5, and it was having a little bit of issues because for the field trips, I have 4 field trips and then some senior events. So it only did this literally the field trips and not the events, but I wanted all of them. So I it gave me this first. And like I said, we go back and forth. It's that evaluation piece when I look at it and see if I'm happy with it or not. And then I iterate telling it what else I want. So I told it to include the cost breakdown, and I copied, even though I had the initial spreadsheet on there, for some reason I didn't read it. But I copy and paste the whole thing so that there's no confusion in new. So then he created the new graphic for that page. And then on there I said put all the trips, and that's what I mentioned about the senior events. And I said include all 7 of them. And then as you can see, there's several versions of it, but I wasn't happy with it. And I kept iterating until I got something that I wanted. Like I said, replace the comments per period, and then the total breakdown just have just the total. So you can see change the periods, and then it just gave me the total for the trips here. And then finally for page 6, he created something. Again, I wasn't happy with it. I told it to redo it with the actual senior data that I uploaded. And this is a part about hallucinations. It can come up with data if you don't give the proper one. So make sure you double check your numbers and tell it to use the information that you're providing. So it gave me this one. I was happy with it. There were some like small things you can ask it for it to change, which I did. And this version, it's a lot better, as you can see. So I decided to keep that one, but you can continue to go back and forth with it and change it. And see, I uploaded the colleges for it to include it on there, so it did. And then I said, create a cover page for this report. So then it gave me that cover page. What I did is I downloaded all the pages from here. It's a simple download. And then I use Canva if you feel comfortable with it, or you can use a Google Doc as well, or Word document to copy and paste all those graphics and just fit them to the page. And then you can print it out or save it as a PDF to distribute this flyer. So just like that, you're able to create a visually appealing document or report that you can use to share with your teachers and principals and stakeholders. And then you can do the same thing. You can save this, use the same template and just say, use the same theme, design, but with this new data for all high school or Southwest High School or so on. So you can continue to use that template and just change out the information to get this, and it'll look a lot more appealing and more professional to showcase the work that you're doing. So if you need help with that or need additional information, just let us know.